this has been good for me, just like understanding and taking some of your points, Frederick, because I do now completely understand. They haven't even been schooled or educated on story structure, and that's a big thing.
No, you guys live in a country where you do that for football. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, if we're talking about a profession, you have football academies, right? Like, I mean, before Cristiano Ronaldo gets on the pitch, he's been through a football academy in Portugal. We finish, because I've got a little bit of time. Before we finish, I do want to, we got to get into our manga updates, like where we talk about what are you guys into, what's going wrong with you, so forth. So I have some questions for you guys, and I want to get your...
Okay, let's do that first.
All right, let's go for it.
All right, so the One Piece live action, you enjoyed that, and you called out, well, maybe you didn't enjoy, I don't know, but you called out the fact that people were upset about some of the black, or let's say non-white, non-Japanese actors who got cast for the roles. There are two things that I've not watched the whole show, although I did enjoy part I saw, certainly more than Cowboy Bebop, I mean, yeah, it's true.
I enjoy Cowboy Bebop. I said it. I enjoy it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Did you like Cowboy Bebop?
Yeah, I thought it was all right.
He did.
Give it a chance. But, you know, I remember Frederick like, who asked for it?
Exactly. Who asked for it? But here's my favorite part, though. That thing got canceled so fast that now Ed knows that, like,
no one did.
Right. Like, there are moments in life when you realize, like, well, I'm really wrong about this. And that was for Ed.
Yes,
like,
that was his moment.
That thing got canceled so fast, it was crazy. So I've seen two things that stood out to me. One was there was this meme, and I'm obviously I'm not very hip, but there's a meme about Zoro killing black people.
Oh yeah,
Zoro the minority hunter.
Yeah.
So I'm curious as to like what is that, and is that not strange that that again, like, here's a manga that doesn't have a lot of black people in it ever. I mean, ever. Like, as I said last time we chatted, I've read that manga and I've seen little toy people in the crowd. I'm like, what? They got a little toy person. He's going like, oh my God, it's exploding. And I'm like, where's the black person? Like, y'all only got one black person. You got a little toy person. Like, what is going on? But then now I'm hearing that Zoro kills black people. Enlighten me as to what is this whole thing about?
So, yes, I'll defer to Solo on that one. He's our resident One Piece.
There are different schools of thought about why what started this. One particular one is that Zoro in the anime at the beginning, early stage, just had a darker complexion as before. So there are some people that go down the dark, even kind of more serious route. It's like it's a form of like self-hatred of himself, because he used to be darker skinned and now he's lighter skinned. Most times skinned. It's a darker.
I'm like, good Lord.
Yeah, I know. But the thing is that there is this recurring theme that he tends to fight and tends to get a little bit more. He's always a serious character by nature, but he tends to fight the people that are of a darker complexion. And it's not necessarily the case that this happened in before and it doesn't happen now, but even in the most recent arc, one of the most recent arcs, Wano, he fights a character of a darker complexion. So what people have done is gone back and said every single time he fights a person of a darker complexion, it's just Zoro fighting minorities. So there's just like this, they've taken that and they just apply it every single time.
But in the live action though, they did cast a black actor.
Yes, they did. And so that the first person he defeats in the live action is actually in the anime a black character. So it's a black character.
Before. You know, I'm like, are you sure about that? I mean, like, have we ever gotten confirmation that these characters are black?
Like and as African as it could be. When
Oda said that Usopp would like be from Africa, I'm like,
bruh,
like,
South African.
You could have
He
said,
just said
huh?
Africa. That made it even worse. He just said
Right,
Africa.
exactly. I'm like, bro,
He
you
just
could
said
have been like
Africa. He
specific.
didn't say South
Where I could have
Africa.
like tried to buy. You could have been like, well, he's actually from like Cote
No, he just said
d'Ivoire. He's like
Africa.
from
Yeah.
he's from like islands, like from Africa.
It's the whole
like,
continent. It's the whole continent. Bang.
right.
There you go.
So
Yeah.
true. Right. But everyone else is from like a country. Right.
It's a
Exactly.
country. Yeah.
Yeah.
Country,
Oh my God.
It happens all the time in Africa, though. They don't. Then you never hear someone say you're Europe. They always say you're African or you're from Africa, but they never say, "Oh, you're from Europe" or anything like that. They say the actual country. It is what it is.
Yeah. So that's where it comes from. Now, is it problematic? I mean, I think that just comes down to your. I can certainly see why people will look at it and say that is problematic. Why is that a trend? Like, why does that continue to happen? I think that One Piece is too vast, and some of the themes that are touched upon One Piece, for me, don't match up to it being that this is like this like a secret racist character, when a lot of the themes are about acceptance and accepting people from different walks of life and no ism at all, be it racism, anything at all. So I think I don't see it necessarily as
people
personally.
Are reaching.
Yeah, but
I
can
imagine
see it.
they're
But
reaching.
it's quite compelling when people when you see
Well,
like
that's what
a
I'm gonna
mashup.
say.
It's quite. It's like there's like it's not like one or two characters. There's like 3 or 4 times where this happens. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I look. Yeah, I think people are reaching, no question about it. On the other hand, I think that I think it's again like this is my whole point with Saturday AM is that like I feel like it is always interesting to me how there are some folks who do not feel that they have to care about how we view things. And again, there's an element of being aloof and not being worldly or not having a good grasp of things, and that's fine. And creators are not gods, and creators are not scientists. So like I'm not whether Oda realized this or not, that's none of my business. But it's always kind of odd to me that like that is a scenario where you don't like where like there's no thought that went into like, well, I wonder how a lot of people would take this, like or what is like or how people would vibe with this general idea. In general, I think that's just something like I would. In other words, I wouldn't be able to do that, right? Like I couldn't like be like every villain that casts fights is a white guy, and and be like, well, I don't know how white people are going to take. Like I couldn't get away with that. Like it would come up with me very quickly. So and as well as I would be, personally concerned that people would take away that from my work. So yeah, I think there's some stuff there. I mean, it's interesting. I did see that, and I thought it was silly, but then I was curious, like, well, why is this a thing? Like, why are they even saying this? You had a lot of manga. My second question, you got a lot of manga that is finishing early.
Yep.
At least what people perceive as early.
Yep.
What do you guys make of that trend? And did you like the endings of some of these manga?
It's funny you mentioned that because I was just editing one of the episodes we've done solo, the new Gen Anime, where Solo was talking about all these mangas that are finishing. So your JJKs, My Hero Academia, I think Demon Slayer maybe as well, Fire Force.
Yeah.
So look, I'm not a manga reader, so I'll again defer to Solo, but I do find it. I think just more so regarding the time we're in. You look at Dragon Ball Z, One Piece, Naruto, Bleach. At that time, there was a bit more forgiveness in terms of people or mangakas being able to like build out a story and create long tail animes. Whereas now, I think just given society, given how we are as people, I can't speak for everyone, but just society in general, everything is like very quick, very immediate in terms of I want it now. Authors or mangakas have to like grip people in like the first 3 episodes, or they're gonna get cut, or their manga's not gonna get picked up. So we're seeing a lot of almost quote unquote fast food-ish kind of anime coming out where it's amazing in the beginning and then kind of tails off, or it doesn't really like build out the story to the proportions of the likes of One Piece or Bleach or so on and so forth. And you know what, that's fair enough, because I think sometimes it works. You might just want to have a 1 series or 1 season anime, but I think if you're going to start doing 2-3 seasons, I think that gets to a point where you want to build it out. Solo can talk to this more about JJK. I thought this was an amazing anime, but from what I'm hearing from Solo and the community is that it's falling off a cliff. And that could be, again, pressures on the mangaka. It could be that they didn't want to follow his or her vision in terms of how they saw the ending. One thing I've learned is it's never specifically on the author. There are especially when it comes to anime, there are so many entities that have a voice, that are giving you the budget to essentially, facilitate this passion that you have. So therefore they have stake in the game. They can tell you what to do. And then that kind of like leaves you kind of like helpless and kind of like makes you lose the love for the craft as well. So again, I'm not blaming the mangakas or so on and so forth, but it's a shame that, we're seeing the many great mangas or animes that start falling off or not doing as well in terms of the ending. But yeah, Solo, you can go in terms of what you think.
Before you start, real quick, so I think it's interesting that, Ed, that you are suggesting, and I don't know the answer to it, but you're suggesting that this is that you seem to be suggesting that this is. I guess the impression that I would get is that these mangaka are like I don't want to create a long manga. Like they're the ones who are just like, I don't want to create a long manga. I'm not trying to be like Toriyama. I'm not trying to be like I'm not trying to be like Oda. Like, you know what, this thing's blowing up. I got my money. The anime will keep running after I finish making my books. I'm out. Like, I'm good. I'm out. I'm gonna take my time. I'm gonna enjoy. I'm gonna date or get married, have kids, or chill. But like, these are not the old days where I feel like I owe it to my fans and owe it to the company to take a manga and do it for a decade, or 20 years. Like, I don't feel like I have to do that. You don't seem to be thinking that that's part of the process. You think it's more about that they get burnt out because of the anime or whatever. Is that what I'm hearing?
I mean, yeah, that's definitely something to do with it. I don't necessarily think it's money. I just think it's the time we're in right now. Like, we always say this now, if One Piece were to come out today, with Bleach, maybe not so much Naruto, but definitely a manga or anime that takes so long to get going, people are not interested. I remember JJK, first episode, boom. Solo Level, first episode, boom. They're getting out there. They're giving it to you. And I think the industry is in itself where, remember back in the day, it was like, I think it was weekly or something like that when it was coming out in terms of the One Piece, Bleach, and so on and so forth.
Oh, yeah.
You have to do it seasonality now. So because you're doing it in seasons as well, it's like you do one season, and there's so much more anime now, right? So the specific publications as well, in terms of like your my mind's gone blank now, but the different manga houses, whether it be Parrot or what's my favorite one, Production IG, all these there's a lot of kind of like volume coming to them to say, hey, we need you to do this, we need you to do this.
Trust me.
So you get like, say something, and I'm just making this up, but you get a studio working on something like Haiku. It might be that they work on the season 1. Okay, that's done. Or when's season 2 coming out? Well, we're going to shift to another anime. So then you're kind of like breaking that kind of continuum. Whereas back in the day, we had it on a weekly basis, So I think it's just a time now, Frederick. Like, you get in, you do your time, you do your manga, you do your anime, and then it moves on to the next one. And I don't necessarily think it's just for money. I just think it's just how we consume anime now, as it is.
I saw Solo walk away. So let's hear what Solo thinks, because he clearly
it's not too dissimilar. Yeah, it's not too dissimilar to Ed's description. Although I think there is a, and I'm not a mangaka, so I don't know, but I think artists, authors, however you want to describe them, sometimes have, when they start a story, they have that story in mind. They have their beginning, their middle, their end. And as they get into the machine, what happens is that middle part of the story just expands. And that doesn't always fit into their initial and original idea of their beginning, middle, and end. And then they write themselves into corners. They may write themselves for money. I mean, it's well documented that One Piece was never meant to last as long as it is now.
Sure.
It's just that we are just happen to be lucky that this author Oda is able to weave in this huge continuation and still make it make sense. Because there's stories that have failed time and time and time again. You can blame the industry, you can blame work, you can blame money. But I think I actually relate this interestingly back to your first point, to bring this full circle back to power. And I don't necessarily think that the authors are always in a position of power to dictate, no, this is my story. this is my beginning, this is my middle, this is my end. And maybe they get cash eyes and start seeing dollar signs, start saying, I can make money, and they'll just continue on. And then when they get tired, let me just finish it up. And in that decision, be it forced upon them or themselves, the story crumbles. So I would much rather, and I think maybe that's why you could argue potentially that in the decades past, where anime may not have been this huge machine as it is now, you could potentially argue that you had a lot more shorter series, and then their beginning, middle, and end can be confirmed and be kind of be contained. And so there's a reason why some people still say Full Metal Alchemist is incredible. Perfect beginning, middle, and end. So I think that's what it is. I think it's that lack of control, that lack of power, and controlling how long their story goes. Because I think when I look at the ending, it all just falls to pieces.
Well, the endings are not great. I mean,
the endings aren't great.
And so I was, and let me say, I have no, I mean, obviously I have a little bit of insight just being a publisher, but I can't say I have a ton of insight more than you guys. So I don't know the answer is my point. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure I go along with everything you guys are saying for a couple of reasons. One, because and again, I don't have the answer, but I think that first of all, yes, the industry's bigger than it ever has been anime wise, but I'm talking about manga, which is what feeds the anime. The anime comes from the manga. And I think from that standpoint, manga is big, but it certainly, like, it was ridiculous back in the 90s. So, I mean, the circulation has fallen. So there are more readers, but it's not the same level of money coming into the system as it did. So that's number one. Number two is that, Japan society is different. I mean, Japanese society is different. Like the concept of the salaryman is very real. And so the idea that these guys would get a job working at one of their favorite, manga companies and would work for decades is not uncommon. I mean, the industry is built that way in Japan. I think that health issues, I think globalization, I mean, them seeing other creators in other countries, having success and not working weekly and to the bone has had an impact. When they're like, wait a minute, why am I doing this? I don't see this guy doing that over in America. I don't see this guy doing it. Like, why am I doing this? So I think that those play a big part of the conversation as well. But I mean, I think the endings, the endings have always been problematic in manga. I mean, and I think that's where I say I disagree slightly. I think the Japanese have never suffered power. I think there's some creators who've been very vocal about how they felt like they weren't getting what they wanted. And some famous examples like the Shaman King creator. And so there've been some stuff there, but for the most part, these series have ended the way the creators wanted them to. And people have been against those endings for a long time. I remember people whining about the original ending of Dragon Quest, Adventures of Dime, or people whining about where the character, spoiler alert, dies. But like, there's lots of stuff, where people have had issues with the way the manga ended. Reborn, which lasted for a very long time. People hate that ending. And that was before, that was like right at the beginning of social media. They hate that ending. They were like, what was the point of all this? So to me, I think power is part of the problem. It's not lack of power. It's the fact that you're talking about people who just started creating comics immediately. And, like, they didn't go through a formal process. They didn't, they may have had like a manga contest that they won. They get a manga going, they get serialized, they start making money. The book sales start picking up, and they get an anime and, whatever. And from that standpoint, like, they've got money coming in, they're doing well. They've got a serialized book, which is a big deal. It's like having a hip hop album in America or the UK. Like, they're stars, but they were never like blooded in making the stuff. Like, they didn't go through a process of like training for it. They didn't go through a process. So when it's all said and done, like, maybe they're not the best creators, right? They may have a great concept, may have great character designs, they might be great artists, but they're not the best creators, they're not the best storytellers. So when it gets to the end, they're just like, this is my artistic vision, just to end it right here with the character having a donut. And it's like, what? Like, wait a minute, all this happened, and you just end it with him eating a donut. Yeah, that's my art. That's my art.
Yeah.
Done.
I'll push back. Oh, sorry. Go on. Finish.
I'm just saying. So you look at some endings recently that have gotten complaints, right? Remember the Attack on Titan ending got complaints. Now,
I thought it was good.
Here's what I get ready to say: is that now I got complaints, but the anime came and kind of like did it, and once you add all this stuff to it, and the music and the cinematography, and then certain scenes get expanded. All of a sudden, it comes across being a really beautiful ending. But like the manga ending, you guys can, either you knew this or you can look it up. But like the manga ending got destroyed. Like the guy was concerned to come to New York Comic Con.
Yeah, he was crying.
He was crying. He was crying. I remember seeing that. I was like, oh man, damn! Like, my man got put through it just for his manga.
Yeah.
Jujutsu Kaisen ending, people weren't very happy with that because it did seem like it's kind of rushed to the end and just kind of like stopped, and there was no real kind of like closure. My Hero Academia, of course, was famously pilloried because of the way that the manga, so he had to create like a new ending in the actual volume. So, and again, these are all titles where like I'm looking at the critics, I'm thinking like they got a lot of power. Like, they got a lot of power. Like these are not folks who didn't have power. Their books were selling very well. Promised Neverland, had an ending that people didn't like. The anime was different, but the manga ending people seem to not like as much. And that manga at one time was one of the top selling manga in all of Japan. So like, I don't know. I push back on the idea that they don't have power. I think they have power. I think the question is whether or not they're just competent at being able to tell a great story. And I say that respectfully because I think it's hard. I think some of my creators struggle telling a great story. And I think some of my critics struggle with how to end even an arc or a volume. So I think that's kind of where I see some of the things with it. Same with American comic books, same with European comic books. The art of telling stories is very difficult. Like you can have some really great pieces. You can have a great character design, great main character. You can have a great concept, but getting the story from point A, as Solo said, to then maybe like an interesting middle, and then an end that you think exists. But then once you start getting into it, it kind of expands where it gets a little washy, and then you get to the end and you're like, well, that ending doesn't feel as good anymore. But you can't convince them because that's the ending they've always had in their mind. And it's like, but and that's what I mean about maybe they just weren't great storytellers to begin with for them to understand that, hey, as the story evolved, this ending probably needs to be a lot more heft. Because I just refuse to believe, and I think Horikoshi is amazing. I refuse to believe that Horikoshi went through all of this and thought, I'll just end it with this cat. I just refuse to believe that like that brother didn't think to himself like, I don't know, man. Like what's a good heroic ending for my boy? Like why can't I just hook him up with the girl, whatever her name is, Ochaka or whatever her name is. The little girl he's got a crush on, Deku.
Which anime is this we're talking about now?
My Hero.
My Hero. Uraraka. Yeah, Uraraka.
And just finish with that. Just the two of them together and they go off in the sunset. Like, I refuse to believe that my man ain't seen enough movies to be like, yeah, this would be a good ending. People will be down for this. It'd be a good ending.
I agree with that. I agree with this, but this my thing is, so maybe so it's not that I agree with you. So it's maybe the lack of power, but the power's in the wrong place. I think it's misplaced. But then also at the same time, I think social media has had a massive impact on viewing and us as consumers. Because there's one thing there is before, and I see this now. I go back and watch certain. I told Ed we had a podcast episode and I was ranting. I was raving about it. I watch some B movies and Z movies. I have a great time. It's funny. It starts well. I know what I'm gonna get. It doesn't take. I was watching like The Meg. I was watching like Godzilla. I was like, this is fun. Yeah. This is great. Because I was watching some of these in a very in my own bubble, and for myself, I can enjoy it. Yeah. And then you get online, and some of the people are like, this is a crap movie. This happens here, and all these voices are adding to it, which then can change. As a consumer, you can think, maybe I don't like it. Yeah, right. I don't like it, and then I go and tweet and say, I don't like it. When in actuality, it's fine, and you can accept that for what it is.
Yeah.
And if you look at like YouTube and Instagram and now TikTok reviews, people will watch a TV show and then go and watch a review straight away on the episode they've just watched. That will then tell them whether or not it's a good episode or not.
Yeah.
They're waiting. It's confirmation bias. They're waiting for someone to tell them, should I like it?
That's right.
And I think we are all so much better at picking things in a story. And then to your point, if you haven't been schooled in the structure of how to do a story, and then you release your art into a world of people who are like seasoned and like, no, I'm expecting greatness now. And they're comparing your work to like Tolkien. It's like, okay, well, it's gonna go down badly. So I think there's a whole element there as well. There's like, well, and I actually agree with your point. Maybe they need to have this education of how to end it, because back onto your point, that ending of My Hero,
no spoilers.
No, but it's But my pushback to that would be that ending is so left. He had to know. I can't.
That's all my
I
thing.
can't accept. I can't accept that. That's what you do.
That's all my
I can't.
thing is. And to be very clear again, I don't want to be presumptuous. Again, there'll be people listening to podcasts who know me in the industry will be like, I can't believe he's saying that. I'll be very clear here. I'm not like I said before. I mean, I stand by what I said. I'm a publisher. I stand by what I said. I think all these creators sometimes I think are not. I tell my guys this all the time. Like, if you're looking at manga and you're thinking yourself like this is the epitome of the best story in the world, you're an idiot. Like, that's not how this works. Manga is, there are works from obviously the now canceled Neil Gaiman, Alan Moore.
Neil Gaiman.
They just put manga to
Sandman
shame.
season 2 on Netflix. They cancelled season 2 on Netflix, by the way.
Which one?
They cancelled
Sandman.
Oh, did they?
They cancelled it. Oh. Not doing it. But sorry, carry on. Yeah.
No, I mean, but I'm just saying, like, but sometimes we get caught up in stuff, and I just want to be very clear. Like, I'm not speaking for these mangaka, and I stand by what I said about the fact I think some of these stories can be done better, but that doesn't in any way suggest that I can do it better than them. Yada yada.
Of course,
experts. But I agree with you, Solo, and that's all my point. That's all my point has ever been is that I just refuse to believe in a world that's as big as manga is, with as much international focus as manga has. You cannot tell me that the editors and the creators don't know. For example, I said this like in the last podcast. You can't tell me they don't know they got a huge amount of black fans. And so therefore it doesn't touch their brain to go, maybe we should have a black character here because we got a lot of black fans in the West. Like, you can't tell me they don't know that. I refuse at this point when you talk about this is a different era today. It is a different era today. They got social media, they got news. Refuse to believe that they don't know how many black people are fans of manga or know that there's a huge amount. Refuse to believe that. So that's why when you see black characters popping up in works like Gacha Kuda or popping up, and if some of the manga I was reading recently, I saw a black character. I'm like, yeah. Like what difference does it make? How are you somehow immune to not featuring us when you know we're out there? And same thing, like Sol was saying, at the end of My Hero Academia, like, you're telling me there was an editor that did not say, like, bruh, yeah, we can't do this, bruh. We can't do this, bro. You got to do this, bro. Come on, no, come on. Horikoshi, man, like, you got to do this. You cannot do this. Please don't do this. You're gonna get laughed at. Don't do this. Like, I find it hard to believe. It's just hard to believe.
So wait. Sorry. I'm gonna have to cut you off there, Solo, because I've been burning. Come on.
Okay.
Just very quickly, because a few things you said there, Frederick. I don't necessarily think that they cannot, and I know you're not saying in that jest, but they don't know how to create stories and so on and so forth. For example, right, we did an episode, again, it's quite topical, we called it End of the Road, because Solo wanted to essentially talk about, anime endings. And I don't think that's something necessarily contained to manga and anime. It's contained across the whole industry, Game of Thrones. Are you going to say that's a rubbish story because the ending was bad? It's a great story, just unfortunately had a poor ending. So I think one thing we said is, like, it could take a show that was a 9 to an 8 or 7. Still great, still very good, but it doesn't make it exceptional anymore because of the bad story. So I think there's a lot of manga and anime maybe that have a good beginning and middle, but I think endings in general are so hard. Like, no matter what the medium, they're just so hard because people invest their time, their emotions into these characters. So if they don't necessarily get an ending that kind of like ties it to what they were feeling, they're gonna just go, oh, it was rubbish. Oh, I don't know. And the thing is that there's nothing the author can do to end it whereby it's gonna be a great ending, because some people like it, some people won't like it, some people just be like, well, why couldn't they do it this way? It's just gonna be a whole kind of circus in terms of why. So I think it's very hard to do ending. I don't want to say I don't want to, like, obviously I haven't seen the My Hero Academia, and I know you said you kind of spoiled it, but I wasn't really putting two together. So when editing, I'll just leave that out. But I don't understand why. You're right. Sorry. So you're right in terms of there could be some manga or anime where it's so left, and I get that. But in general, I do think endings in general are so hard, regardless of the medium, or regardless of the medium or the genre, whether it be manga, fiction, sci-fi, whatever. It's quite hard. Lost, people hated that as well. So, but yeah, go on.
One addition to add on to it before I know we can keep going, so we'll wrap up in a second.
Yeah, let's finish up.
But my one thing is that about the power element, Ed, is that the reason why I think it's power To a degree, not in total, because this has been good for me, just like understanding and taking some of your points, Frederick, because I do now completely understand. They haven't even been schooled or educated on story structure, and that's a big thing.
No, you guys live in a country where you do that for football. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, if we're talking about a profession, you have football academies, right? Like, I mean, before Cristiano Ronaldo gets on the pitch, he's been through a football academy in Portugal or in Manchester or wherever. So, like. So again, manga is different because there's not that. They have things, but there's not that. And I'm not saying that there has to be. I'm just saying that I think sometimes we give too much credence to the brilliance of somebody who just jumped into this thing right off the bat. We preach against it at Saturday AM all the time. I mean, that's something where, again, like, there some of the harassment that we get are from creators that, like I said, tried to join us. We were like, no, this is not a good fit for us. And they took it personally. They've never done anything since. They don't have any work to show since then, but still believe that, like, well, I was, man, like, they should listen to me, man. I would have given them the best thing ever. And it's like, how can you say that, like, you've not done anything, you have nothing? And so it's like, there's not a process for the stuff. There should be, but there's not. And so when you're talking about creativity, you're kind of like allowing, all this sort of stuff to kind of come together. And sometimes it just is magic. Yeah. And we confuse magic, just like we talk about confuse success with power. We confuse magic with competency. And those are two different things. Magic is when something just happens. Competency is when it happens over and over and over again. Not taking anything away from the mangaka, but let's be clear. Oda's been doing it for 20 some years. That's competency. That's competency. I'm not a huge fan of Oda's work, as I've said before. I think One Piece is amazing. I think Oda's a master, but I have issues with the work. But I can't take away this man's competency. Rumiko Takahashi is the definition of competency. Urasaya Sura, aka Lum, Mason Ikoku, Inuyasha, Ron Mahath. This woman's been working since like the 70s and has been dropping bangers every single time. That's competency. But someone who comes out the gate, does something, it explodes, becomes popular, and then they try to recreate it, and guess what? It doesn't happen again. Kishimoto was competent, but that didn't work for Samurai 8. So like, sometimes we confuse magic. Sometimes again, football and sports and entertainment, you can have a moment of magic, and it's awesome. You can't do it every time. That's different.
But you have to also say that moments of magic don't always come to everyone. So the fact that they were able to get that is an accomplishment in itself. I appreciate that magic needs to be harnessed, scaled up, and to the point where, you can extend it or, level it up. But, to think of the likes of the Dan or the JJKs or whatever, it's a great, and obviously they've taken inspiration from other places. Now, you're right. Maybe they don't necessarily have that competency in terms of like the experience and how to storytell and so on and so forth. And maybe this is something, again, we're just speculating. Maybe this is something that needs to be happening in the industry and so on and so forth. But my point is, regardless of whether it's anime, manga, sci-fi, fiction, whatever, there's always going to be some people or majority of people who say the ending was trash. And these people, you can argue, have great competency in their work, Lord of the Rings, people didn't like the ending. And
I think we talked about this last time. I didn't like Lord of the Rings at all. So like,
exactly, it's all opinions, right?
Right.
Like Attack on the Titan for me, anime of the decade. Like you can't tell me anything outside of that.
I know many people who feel the same way. So like I don't, and I've not watched it all the way through, but I mean, from what I've seen, it's extremely impressive. So yeah. So again, I mean, like I said again, like, I know folks in the industry are going to possibly see this, and I just want to be very clear. Like I'm only speaking from the standpoint of like, I think there's always a danger in trying to prescribe certain realities when the fact of the matter is that like, that was, it just happened. What happened just kind of happened. And it's not, again, and to use again, go to sports analogy for a second. Like you said, magic is still magic. And so when that person hits that kicks that football and soccer, hits that football, catches the lineman, catches the goalie off the goal, and he's all the way back in his half of the field, and he kicks it and it goes in. That's magic. It's going to be broadcast forever. Doesn't mean he's going to be able to do that all the time. Doesn't mean he's going to be able to do that
Oh
ever
yeah,
again in
no,
his career.
no.
That doesn't change that it was magic. But now, David Beckham, Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, their legacies
absolutely
are different. And as a result, and that's kind of a point I'm trying to make, is that let's not confuse legacy for magic. Let's not confuse something that was really great but didn't have every piece correct with something that truly was a perfect level of fiction. And you look at, again, stuff that like Alan Moore has done. You look at stuff that Junji Ito has done. You look at stuff that Urasawa has done. And those are like literal perfection. You look at what my man Inoue did with Vagabond and was done with Real and Slam Dunk. And like, these are perfection. These are perfection. Like, these are things that you look at and you're like, there's no fault here. This is just great. This nails every single part of it. It's so perfect. Kentaro Mura with Berserk. There are works that are perfection. And I just think that like, we just, let's not get into the scenario of like saying like, well, I don't want to bemoan something that's not perfect because it was good at one time. Yeah, it was good at one time. But there are works though that do show you can do it. That can be done. You can't have all these elements brought together in the right way with a singular vision that does feel that purposefully done. Every part of it is purposely done. It's done right and it's done well. And it's kind of got a flawless element to it. But art is messy. Art is messy.
Exactly.
And therefore, we try stuff. You've said before, I know, Ed, like, you've talked before about like, you trying to put these shows together and everything. And, and your co-host has a poor microphone. And you've talked about how that
It's okay.
makes it complicated for you.
It does.
Okay,
it really does. I still can't hear him.
You can enjoy yourself. It's fine.
Is he talking?
I got my okay. It makes two of you. All right, cool. It's okay. I can understand this.
That was brilliant, Frederick.
I appreciate it. What you've done here, Frederick, is you just added a month's worth of abuse onto what Ed is going to give me now for the next month. February is a write-off now. February is a write-off.
To see how this carries on in your future episodes. I can't wait to see that.
We could be in a studio in the same place. It will still be there.
Well, hopefully that will happen one day. And I'll say again, when we finish up here, I'll say again, I so enjoy the two of you, and I so think the two of you are so great. I would love to see you guys get on a bigger platform and be in a position to talk about more topics and have, guests, bigger guests than me. And
yeah, for sure.
I think you guys are in a position. Well, thank you. The bigger guests than me. It's like, yeah, sure, definitely.
No, not like that.
See,
It really was like.
And Frederick is equal opportunity.
It was
he's
not
equal
like
opportunity.
That.
It's equal opportunity.
I can hear you now, but I can't hear Ed. Solo, I hear you, Solo. I don't hear Ed. In fact, Solo, this is what I do to Ed. Because I can't even see Ed.
Ed on my screen.
It wasn't like that. I was just saying, oh yes, to get in a bigger guest.
Yeah.
Oh,
I will certainly be telling folks in the industry. I think that you guys should have bigger guests. I think you guys are wonderful, and it's a pleasure to see, great black, articulate, fun. Folks talking about a medium that we all love, and we all have different opinions about it, but it's a medium that we all love. And I just so adore you two, and I'm so happy to be able to podcast again. And hopefully next time we'll be talking about the anime, and other fun stuff. We have some other big announcements that we'll get into, but I do want to say, like I said, that this month, it was February 2025. Don't forget to pick up Orisha Volume 1. This is really good.
There you go. Right
Zaif, Umar is the creator, and he's from Nigeria. We're supposed to be there. We go, Nigerian flag right there.
Yep.
So great book, wonderful book. If you love Avatar: The Last Airbender, you'll love this. Of course, don't forget to check out Clock Striker, which is our biggest franchise alongside of Apple Black. Don't forget to check this out. Really, really big. We've got big announcements coming. If you love Apple Black, don't forget you had Apple Black Origins, was our first light novel. This was really good. It's got some really wonderful stuff in here with what is it? It's Stephanie Williams wrote it, but it's got some great stuff in here. And I don't have Hammer Volume 5, but here we go. Hammer Volume 5 just came out. Don't forget to check this out. It's a great book as well. If you love One Piece, like these two do, then you love Hammer.
There we go.
Really good. It's really fantastic. Jay Oden's a creator. He's actually doing a signing right now in the United States. Nice. Good stuff. And our trading card game's coming out. We're going to be announcing more details about that this month. And under our digital line hits, we'll be bringing out our first digital exclusive title, which is called Zephyr from Stan Russell from Bahamas. Wonderful work, wonderful series, great artist. A lot of Bahamian culture, which I don't know a lot about, was inside of this book. So again, perfect part of, another excellent addition to Saturday AM. And yeah, and I'll say that, leave you guys with this, butterflies are, lots of colors, and kind of like, the way the butterflies move is poetic. And on that note, that's how you take a left ending. Okay? For you kids that didn't understand, that's what a left ending in manga looks like. Didn't make no damn sense.
What? I thought you and Solo had like Solo's like, yes, I understand. I was like, am I missing something here?
I didn't see this. Solo say he understood.
Solo's like, Solo did this. Solo's like, I was like, am I missing something? Was that?
He was the
Ed, again, don't tell me Solo said to be like, look, got no pen like.
I'm gonna write that down.
Butterflies.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
You know what? I hope that McDonald's thing's not true. But anyway, let me erase that from my mind and continue to watch My Hero as is. Frederick, thank you so much. To celebrate your third year on here and you've just been on a podcast. We will give an opportunity for anyone listening and watching this video a chance to win one of those books. Yeah. So just drop down which one you want and we'll pick someone from random. We'll give 3 away. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on the podcast for your third time. I really, really appreciate it. Again, I always love your conversation, always love your passion. So thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it.
Same here.
I would say Solo say something, but we still can't hear him. So,
I'll be careful now. I'll scream and burst everyone's eardrums. I'll burst everyone's eardrums. You'll hear me somehow by force.
Oh gosh! Oh, I know this. Click on the next video before he lets it off. Impeccable form, by the way. And the Hunter x Hunter drip is get out of there. It's still there though. Yes, but in his mind, it's gone.